Hello, how you guys doing? Hopefully good. Just chilling this morning, getting a little bit of, I don't know, stomach's doing something weird, but aside from that, pretty good day. Had breakfast in bed, which was awesome. Wife was like, do you want pancakes in bed? And I was like, why would I ever say no to this? This is amazing. So I got pancakes in bed, which is also, I will say, not the greatest place to eat pancakes because syrup gets everywhere. And then you're just covered in syrup because you're trying not to get it on the bed and it's just weird. And then you're all syrupy and gross. It's a great way to start a stream. I'm really good at this. I've been doing this for a decade now and I still don't know how to stream right. Anyway. There are a bunch of stories that I meant to read last time but didn't get around to because we just didn't, you know, have time because my voice gave out. There were too many stories that were too long, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a positive way. I just want to treat them with the respect they deserve. I signed you up for the Has Been Hotel Superfan email list. Cool, thanks. I liked that show when it first came out because it was like, hey, this is all right. It's fine. It's like The Amazing Digital Circus if everyone made sex jokes all the time. Also, it's in hell and popular enough to be problematic for things that it does. So, like, if you want more of that, but, like, not, it's kind of like, or like Invader Zim for adults. I mean, it's not wholesome at all. Yeah, that's totally fine, Mike. God, orthogonal, why do you do this? I love you, man, but I don't love you like that. Don't do this. You have the right to do that because you're a tier 3 sub, but otherwise don't. A newer version of Fruity Loops is available for download. You just have to buy it. Cool, I won't, because this one I own. Okay, are they an actual scarecrow made out of straw? I would say they're basically me. And their face is just gonna be covered by the gas mask. Let's see. Yeah. Subscriptions are dastardly. I think that someone just resubbed and I don't have that window open. Protector of Poop, thank you for the 2 years of support. Twice as long as I originally said. Finally made it to one of these. Looking forward to see what people have done. Yeah, it's actually really good. It's really solid. Yeah, I don't know if I want to update to them giving me more guff about buying a plugin or so. There's so many free good plugins for Fruity Loops. Like, why would I ever do that? You know? Well, so my normal outfit is jeans and I think it would be just like a regular Reverend outfit. Leather gloves. I don't think it's more of a I guess shawl sort of thing. Or like a poncho. Yeah, like a poncho. And then I wear what are they called? Doc Martens. Which are like somewhere between like work boots and combat boots. Twitch subs are fine if you're not. Yeah, exactly. Twitch subs are like not as bad as like Amazon or Adobe subscriptions because like I don't like Adobe's subscription model. There's a Twitch bounty for TurboTax, and I'm just like, bro, I'm not going to be shilling that product. TurboTax is solid for what it is, but they spend a lot of time they spend a lot of time and energy lobbying to make it so that way you have to use their service because the system is messed up. So it's like, I don't want to support something that way. Create a problem, solve the solution. Yeah, exactly. Is there a lore reason for the mask? It's just mostly based on my real life experiences. I wanted to make it so that way the character embodied myself in a lot of ways. And then how do I know Andre and Leroy? Both of them I met through Fat Nuts, Fred. And we did, was it Rhapsody Street Kids together? We watched that. I don't know if he has like a VOD channel where that's up where you can watch it. Hey, Clown Pubes, how you doing? There will be more story contests. I was going to make one at the end of March, but then I realized I'm moving in a month. Like, I'm moving at the end of March. Yeah, I mean, I pretty much already answered that one, Mike. And it's not really a contest, it's more of an exhibition. Yeah, I know. That's why I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I don't really want to do the another contest or another exhibition because like I'm gonna be busy. I'm gonna be freaking out this time next month. But I mean, we're getting a lot of the stuff situated. I got rid of a lot of paintings through the sale. And then I'm trying to figure out how we're getting the guitars up there. We're flying up because we got cats, and driving there is bad. Riding a train is not a thing because you can't put cats on a train. So that pretty much just makes it so that we were flying. I feel like just go for it, Mike. You know? Post-apocalyptic kind of like, we made this work. The world's in ruins, but we're making it work kind of vibe. One of those wood block paintings, hide one of those. That'd be cute to do. I hope that the next person would appreciate it, but we shall see. If you claim their emotional support, you won't have to pay. I kind of don't like it when people do that, because, like, yeah. But, I mean, they can also be your carry-on bag. You know? So it's also like, how am I getting the guitars up there? Because I can put them in the moving truck, but do I trust them? Do I trust them to actually do the move? Like, not bang up my guitar? Yeah, you can totally say, hey, everyone. Why not? Reverend Poop Sacks, thank you for the 70 months of support. That's a long-ass time. Let me go ahead and move some of these things over. There we go. All right, so we ended on my wife's second story. So I guess I should scroll up to the top, do Tilda. Oh, right. Let's see. Okay, so then that means the next one is by your... Can you show me where that is in the thing here? Oh no, I actually have to scroll through this. All right, there's the jabroni one. The jaw that gets swallowed. Refrigerator explosion. Right, okay. There's that one, the SCP one. I like that. I like the stories from last time. Like, y'all don't write bad stuff unless if you're doing it on purpose. And those, like, we definitely like note when they happen into part one. Okay, cool. I found it. I'm kind of limiting it to writing, but you saying that makes me want to do that. I don't think I've read Gigi's yet. I'm not sure. But dude, a comic, okay, so to answer your question, Mike, no, but that's a cool as fuck idea, and I kind of want to make that happen. Like, I feel like that should be a separate thing. Don't you think? The last one was heavy, but I kind of think that's why I liked it, though. A comic contest would go hard as fuck. Oh my god. I mean, it could still be story-based, and I'd want it to be. And we need to do a game jam. Maybe you should, like, announce something that we do at the end of, like, April or something. Like, something that's super long, like a game jam or, like, a comic contest now. And then you guys have, like, a whole shit ton of time to work on it. I don't know. Because, like, I don't want to try and do it at the beginning of April, end of March. For the video game thing, I don't know how to do it right. What are we doing next? A comic or a game jam? Because that actually would help. Because then you would have effectively like 2 months to get your shit together. We were talking about Reverend Poopstacks, Legend or Reverend. Your name originally was Reverend Cascade, right? No, I'm thinking of Legend Cascade. I've combined like 2 people. I need more coffee. A game jam would be cool. Why don't we do a poll? I mean, I know there's only like a handful of y'all in chat right now. I'm kind of stalling a bit on reading this story just that way there can be more, you know. What is the next exhibition? I like the word exhibition because it sounds kinky and also it implies that it's not a contest. I mean, the prize is basically exposure, which everyone gets an equal supply. So. All right, story, game jam, comics. The comics, I would like to have some sort of story element. I don't know how I would structure that. I have a little bit more experience in doing comics than I do writing or game jams. And then people, as always, people in YouTube chat, just let me know what you feel like. Also, where can we submit stories and art in general? The hashtag RevFart on Twitter or in the Discord if you're a sub. There should be a section for that. And I feel like stories could be submitted there. Observant sounds so sinister. I'm for a game jam. I'm cool with comics. Non-titeroid here. Yeah, that's kind of a problem. You know what I mean? Like, also people don't want to post their art on Twitter because AI scraping. Oh my god, did it actually go down the line? Okay, story did not win. But there is an even 50-50 on, or 46-46 on Game Jam versus comics. And, like, YouTube chat was not, like, they give, like, exactly the same 50-50. Oh, man. Wow. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that many people voting. Okay, how about we do another poll in a bit? I specifically don't post online because of AI and straight up content stealing. Yeah, I mean, and I don't blame you for that. I fucking hate the internet now, man. I liked it when the internet wasn't shit. Oh, crap. Let me scroll all the way back down to where I was. There we go. There it is. Okay. Yeah, we'll do another poll here in a bit. Sorry to say, Rev, but it was always shit. I just like the respect of other people's property is just not there. Like, I'm not a copyright person at all, but just like general respect of other people's work is at an all-time low. Yeah, use the email on my website, Mike. Go to colinmullen.com. Yeah, I have Blue Sky. It's just RevScarecrow. I made it yesterday. I have posted one thing and it was hey, so you're not missing anything yet. I need to probably use it to post, like, letting people... Blue Sky looks like... If you haven't tried Blue Sky yet, it is Twitter. Like, 100%. Like, in a good way. But my funny AI-generated images, right? Oh, I don't care about copyright. Like I said, I care about, yeah, Twitter, but not owned by someone who wants to put microchips in your brain. Yeah. All right, let's get this puppy going, because otherwise we're just going to ramble all day, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but also, like, feel like we should read some of these. I mean, yeah, early internet wasn't great either, for other reasons. Like, I've seen way too many dead bodies. There's less brain rot drama in Blue Sky. I think that it'll be there sooner or later. Anyway, so we're on to our next story, and I'm just gonna start it. Like I said, I'm gonna wait to read or attribute the author until the end for the sake of just not knowing what you're getting into. I saw a fork and a penis on early internet. The worst one I saw was someone involved a kitten, and it's stuck with me forever, you know? That and like all the normal gore shit that you'd see, like 2 guys, 1 or 3 guys, 1 hammer, or whatever it's called. A lot of not safe for life stuff. Yeah. I wait 5 more minutes? No. I've been interested in the paranormal since I was a kid. From watching, reading, and hearing about stupid and staged bullshit to the what ifs. By sophomore year of high school, I'd have gotten some equipment, but never gotten around to committing to a ghost hunt, especially with never finding a companion to accompany me on these adventures. It wasn't until the last few weeks of high school that I managed to convince my friend Quentin to join me. The bad thing was he knew virtually nothing about ghost hunting, except the basics that they show on TV and YouTube, but I didn't care at it at the time. I was just glad to have someone with me. I should mention that I didn't explicitly say that these had to be fake. Some of these could be real. So just as a thing. I mean, as real as ghosts can be. Right, yeah. So this could be a real story. Anyway, being my first rodeo of in-person ghost hunting, I decided to pick an abandoned place outside of the middle, place out in the middle of the woods by my house. Sure, as a kid, I've wandered off countless amounts of times in the woods, either to explore or just relax my boredom. As I kept getting older, the more and more I would go deeper into the thicket. One day I stumbled upon a gravel road. I traveled down the overgrown path filled to the brim with poison ivy, thorns, and stingweeds till a structure appeared in my view. I was amazed at the sight of the building. It was 2 stories and wide enough to be considered a mansion. In my 12-year-old mind, I didn't go in, However, as I turned around and... Yeah, I read that right. Okay. And followed the road back out to the regular dirt road. I walked back home, and it only took me a couple minutes to do so, considering the beginning of the gravel road was smack dab between my neighbors and us. Well, one day during school, I told Quentin about a place, and in an instant was skeptical about the whole deal. How do you know that? I would love to go urbexing. Dude, I found this really cool urbexing channel that I kind of want to like do like a deep dive on watching. How do you know that place is still standing? Do you even know how old it is? I told him I didn't know, but it still could be haunted, which at the time I didn't know if it was haunted or not. I was only telling him that to keep him from backing out. I did, however, look at historical topographical maps and can confirm that I can trace the home back to 1936. I told Quentin that, and he shrugged his shoulders. The bell rang, and we went our separate ways. In class, the house kept flashing in my mind over and over until I focused on something else and needed to go back and confirm that it was still standing. After school, I drove my beaten up Ford truck back to this back in a decently strong rainstorm. The clouds shrouded the land, and with darkness, his light was eliminated as soon as the clock had turned 5 p.m. I also want to say, I'm not going to be really responding to chat. I'm not going to be probably responding to subs and raids and stuff like that. If there is a raid, y'all be super duper hype about it and explain to them that I don't want to break the tone, because one of the things about like creepypastas, if like they're building stuff up, you know what I mean? And if I stop in the middle of the story, then it fucks up the flow. So I will go ahead and answer this question. What are my thoughts on cave exploring? Kind of don't like that as much. There's some really messed up stuff that happens in caves. And like the ability to get stuck in a hole is like not a big fear for me, but definitely the reason that I don't want to, like, I don't know, be immortal. Anyway, I'm gonna go back to reading. I parked my truck in our gravel lot outside our home and walked inside to grab a flashlight. My mother was still working and would be home soon, so I left a bright green post-it note on the door telling her I was out in the woods and had my phone on me and would be back as soon as possible. I made my way towards the truck and grabbed my final companion for this little trip, which was my hatchet. I was scared shitless, but now I knew deep down how much I wanted to do this. So I powered through and walked into the cold, dark, and young night. There was this feeling that came over me while walking that abandoned gravel road. Something in my gut that told me that anything will go wrong. I kept inching my way towards the house, and as it appeared in the darkness, everything was still the same as it was all those years ago. I walked back out of the forest to see headlights turn onto our driveway. I knew that it was my signal to start jogging and to explain where I had been. Once I caught her attention, I told Mom about the house and that I had planned on going ghost hunting with a friend of mine. I finished explaining everything to her, and I got back in response was a shrug. I didn't even bother asking for an actual answer, so I got ready for bed and fell asleep quite easily. When I woke the next morning, a series of scratches appeared on my chest that looked like someone had sunk their nails in my skin and dragged downwards. My mind started to wonder how and where these scratches came from, and it all led straight back to the paranormal. I avoided the thorns and everything else. I should have taken this warning as to not return to the house, but I still went through with it. Around 8 p.m., I went to pick up Quentin from his house in town, which was only a 20 minutes drive there and back, so it was no problem. On the way back, I told him the house was still standing and everything seemed good to go, and that's about it. I was too focused on the hunt to make conversation. When I got back to my house, I told him to come inside and meet my mom if he wanted while I gathered equipment. While we walked inside, I went to my bedroom and lifted up my shirt to look at the scratch marks again. At this point, they were scabbed and itchy, and but I didn't give in to picking at them. They're starting to. While staring at the scars, a moment of clarity washed over me for that moment. A deep, somewhat deadly feeling stabbed at me as I started to think of that I wasted Quentin's time because I'm backing out of this opportunity of a lifetime. I shook it off for the final time as I packed up my equipment into a decently sized backpack. 2 flashlights, a camcorder with night vision, a couple of REM pods, a spirit box were all I needed for this only trip to that house. REM pods. MRE? MRE is different. So REM is the band? I think that meant to be like MRE. What is a REM pod? Hold on. I have to look that up because I don't know what we're talking about. Oh, it's a ghost hunting thing. What the fuck is it? Never heard of this device. Programmable REM with paranormal research instrument. Programmable REM with temperature detection. Okay. So the theory with ghost hunting is that ghosts give off electromagnetic stuff. That's why electronics don't work quite right around them. That's why batteries fail around them. Based on my own ghost hunting experience, I will say that seems to be somewhat accurate. Even if you charge them like from the car, you will still find that they have problems. So the idea that it is a residual electromagnetic monitor, I don't exactly know what all those words mean in combination like that, but I get the general vibes. So okay, sure. A thing that detects that, and also temperature changes. Follow me, I told him as we stepped off the porch and made our way to a gravel road. Have you been inside the house yet? Quentin asked me. No, I wouldn't dare to go inside a place like that. This alone, haunted or not. Fair enough. I should also say, and this is the last time I'm gonna interrupt this story, I swear to God, I'm so sorry. That is assuming that ghosts are real and just people don't use the excuse that, yeah, my battery ran out and that's right when everything went down. But the idea that they use the electronics to power them actually doing shit. We made our way into the house and saw it illuminated in the moonlight. I looked at the porch and prayed that it could hold me as I took the first step and continued going up and finally made it to the front door. I slowly gripped the handle and turned it as I pushed gently into it. Surprisingly, it opened it without any difficulty. I turned around to Quentin shining a flashlight in my face a few feet away from the porch and gestured that we were good to go. I saw the interior was not as bad as I thought an abandoned home would be, just very dusty and creaky like any old creepy home. With it being creaky, I knew I had to get set up everything and sit in one spot, so I don't think there was a ghost right from the get-go. I told Quentin this and he nodded. Whatever you need to do, man, I'm just following you around. Walked around the entire house to get a scope of everything outside, and to my surprise, we found that there was a basement. I couldn't tell if there was a basement from the outside both times I'd been here, since there were no windows. Another thing that seemed like there was nothing taken from this house. Pictures of a well-dressed farming family from what looked like the 40s or 50s lined the halls and the bedside tables. Clothes were nowhere to be found, and that was it. With the equipment side of things, I decided to put one of the REM pods at the bottom of the stairs leading to the basement, and the other to the first floor, and at the top of the stairs to the second floor. With the camcorder, I was going to place it near the front door until I turned it on and the battery was low. Even though I plugged it in last night and hadn't touched it until I left the house with Quentin. I took it with me and made my way downstairs to the basement as Quentin followed. At that point in time, everything was still quiet besides the groans of the house's aging design. I sat down against the wall facing the stairs as I turned the spirit box on. The channels were changing one after another in rapid succession, were like nails on a chalkboard. Hi, my name is Jax, and this is my friend Quentin. We come in peace and mean no harm. Hello. A word was finally legible from the sea of static. After a few minutes of waiting. What's your name? I asked as I looked up the basement stairs. Don't. Me and Quentin looked at each other in confusion. Seems like we weren't going to get anywhere with this conversation. Can you tell us how you died? Red. Only red. At that moment, I heard a silent creak, and I thought at first that it was only the house until a distant sound of buzzing echoed through the house. Second floor REM pod went off. I thought to myself, footsteps like creaks continued to get closer as the first floor pod started to buzz. My heart started to go haywire as I looked at the petrified face of Quentin. My mind went blank as the spirit box continued to play static until a loud piercing noise overtook the static. Flashing lights came from the REM pods that was only a few feet away from us. Buzzing coming from both devices tore at our eardrums. Fuck this, Quentin said as he almost got up until I put my hand on his shoulder. We don't know that they're hostile. Murder! A clear word came out of the spirit box. REM pod was still going off at this point. Rotten. Are you here with us now? A weak grumbling began to shake the house. Can you see us now? The rumbling stopped as the REM pod went quiet. The only creatures of the night could be heard in the distance. Let me get my stuff. Let's leave. I picked up the first REM pod and went upstairs to find the one on the first floor to be missing. I had looked around a couple of minutes to no avail. I finally made my way slowly to the last and final REM pod. And as my eyes glimpsed over the stairs into the hallway, I stopped dead in my tracks. A man who appeared to be in overalls with an empty smile smeared across his gray face stood ideally. I couldn't tell if what I was looking at was real. I was in so much shock at this point to even think about what I was doing, so I reached for the REM pod and grabbed it slowly. In a split second, the man started to sprint towards me as I screamed and booked it out of the house. Quentin, who was watching me at the bottom of the stairs holding the other two REM pods, stumbled out of the house and fell on his face as he was practically driven off the porch. I ran past him and cut up through the thorns and sugars, which is it's a little spiky thing. CHI. Until I made it back to the dirt road. I just hate that it's a very southern word. Sorry, I said I wasn't gonna interrupt anymore. Quentin popped out of the woods and ran over to me. We looked at one another as Quentin was almost about to cry. Take me home. For the love of God, just please take me home. The auto mod even like marked that one. Allow. Your everyday man got bopped by the auto mod being like, I nodded as we both heard a snap from the forest. Holy fucking shit! I croaked out of my throat as a group of apparitions stood individually between the trees. Go, I told Quentin as we ran out to the truck and tried to open it. Damn it! I ran inside the house and grabbed my keys, hoping wouldn't wake my mom. I quickly made our escape as we kept quiet the entire ride back, knowing that we had experienced something that only two of us can tell. I barely talked to Quentin after that day and for the rest of my time in high school. I never went back to the house after we moved out. I never went back to the house after we moved out. Mom got super paranoid about seeing things in the middle of the night. I never told her about any of my experience because I knew she never would believe me. I never went ghost hunting after that, and I intend to keep it that way. Yeah, this reminds me a lot of the haunting experience that I had, in that they bounced as soon as something fucked up happened. And we don't get like a great resolution, but the main character does, and he's like, that was fucked, absolutely not doing that again, which I feel like if you're a normal, rational person and not a character in a story, is what you fucking do. I did not know about Rim. Yeah, this was from Your Everyday Man. It was good. Like I said, it reminded me a lot of, yeah, the one I did. Didn't you keep doing ghost hunting after that? I think so. I don't remember. I think I did a couple more. But like, yeah, that. Also, someone said something earlier that I wanted to like get back to. I think that if professional ghost hunters were serious, they could use technology that avoids ghost interference. If that's a consistent thing that exists in physics, then there would be a right way to record it accurately. That's a really solid point, and I don't know how you would deal with that. How do you deal with the fact that batteries drain constantly? How would you measure that? Ghost hunters would be a lot more valid to me if they said, no, it's not haunted. I mean, that's what I'm saying, is like 99% of the time you have rats or you have problems with your pipes. Like, you just straight up do not have, like... It's like not... It's not ghosts all the time, you know? I like this one, though. Your Everyday Man. I like this one. Yeah, like stuff like carbon monoxide poisoning. Like, there's so many other things that it could be before it's ghosts. Because if ghosts are real, I would assume that they're somewhat rare. You know? Else that we would all just sort of agree that ghosts are real, right? Yeah, having a control would be really solid for the battery. Maybe leave one battery at home and see how it does. I also think that one thing a lot of ghost hunting places don't do, a lot of ghost hunters don't do, is they don't go and turn off the breaker. Because there's a lot of electrical interference from the breaker that you just don't really notice. It's like not a big deal. Like, I know there are people who are like actually concerned about the EMF messing with her brain or whatever, and that's kind of stupid. And like, there is something to be said about that people, there is a belief, I should say belief, not a proven fact, there's a belief that extra EMF will make you anxious and stuff. So if your electricals are fucked, that could be a thing, you know? So like, if it is just a normal response to EMF, assuming that that's real, just turn off the fucking power first. Control for everything you can control for and go from there. And Orthagonal was saying that I wish you would do a stream where you would go and do that. So assuming that ghosts do that, that's gonna make streaming a real bitch. I agree with that, Toph. Honestly, a lot of ghost hunters want to find ghosts, and a lot of people, when they say they're haunted, want to be haunted. They want to be the next Amityville Horror, you know? Can you do a ghost sex stream? Well, first off, there's like 3 reasons on why I can't do that. 1, it's against TOS. 2, it's against my marriage. 3, ghosts and their whole like... I mean, I guess 4, necrophilia is on that list as well. Like, there's a handful of good reasons on why I can't do that. I'm sorry. Okay, so here's our next story. It's one big old brick of text. I think it's still necrophilia. I don't feel like explaining my like thought process on that because I a zombie is absolutely necrophilia. There was a book that I was reading that was about a zombie apocalypse, and there were some people that would like kidnap zombies and then would just like what if it's a zombie with a mind? Like an undead guy that's just a guy? What was the name of that like romantic comedy zombie story? Yeah, I guess that's just a vampire, but there was a rom-com that was like about a zombie. Warm Bodies? I think it was Warm Bodies. That was actually pretty good. I feel like that was an angle of zombie stories that hadn't been told. Can ghosts pass through a Faraday cage? I don't know what the fuck that is, so I don't know. Warm Bodies is about a zombie that still like is thinking in there and is still like a teenage boy. And like he's on the other side of the zombie thing. You know, he's like not trying to be a fucked up zombie, but also, you know, you got to do what you got to do to survive. I would recommend it. I remember liking it. A cage that blocks EMF. I have no idea. Stuff like that would be like a good thing to check. I guess that would be a way of doing a control, right? I don't know. In the one that I had where our batteries ran out because the whole ghost situation, like the ones inside the trailer were fine. The trailer was obviously outside, parked like, you know, a few feet away from the porch. So like you could put a control in there, and I guess that counts as a control, but they're also charging in there, so not really. Anyway, let's read this next story. I just wanted to talk about ghosts for a minute because that story was that story brought up a lot of ghost stuff that was interesting, and I'm glad we checked in to see whatever that pod thing was, because otherwise that would have made no goddamn sense. I'm like, REM's all right. The sapphiric reflection of the sky upon the water brought a smile to my face. It was early enough for the sun to have set itself in a place upon the sky and bring warmth and color to the morning. And with good breeze against my cheeks, I inhaled the salt-coated air and felt content. Today was already off to a good start. As I loaded my rod and my supplies into my boat, I felt ready for the ride ahead. This vacation was exactly what I needed, but you wouldn't hear me saying something so cliche aloud. Better to drink down that feeling and celebrate the time I had with those I wanted to be a part of it. Besides, I still had a week left, and I really didn't sink to its teeth right back in yet. Not when I had a date with the beauty of that was the ocean. Who was the last one? That was Your Everyday Man. I'm sorry. Fishing was never something I thought I'd enjoy. The fishing trips with my father when I was younger never taught me enough to enjoy the finer aspects of waiting for the catch. Not when the man trying to teach you had patience of a lit fuse. Still, it must have had some effect, or rather, hooked me in its own way, because years later I craved that feeling of patience. Did the 9-to-5 life force me to into wanting to wait for something more than analytics and management screw-ups? It sure felt like that. It was the second fishing trip I had taken, and it wasn't lost on me that it was the first one after old man had gone and drank his last. Was he missed? If you could count the yearly phone calls to complain, then yes. I had to smile through and thank him for teaching me how to fish. While I wouldn't eat for a lifetime, I may have at least have a good dinner tonight. As I stepped into my boat and began to untether it from the dock, a thudding came across the dock. Raising my eyes, I saw an older man approach. He looked to be in at least his mid-60s with an iron gray hair and his face clearly hardened by years of salt water. His step was hard. Each drop of his foot was a rock against aged wood. Soon he stood over my boat. His eyes almost matched the gray of his beard. "Morning," I chimed, a weary grin on my face. I hoped my unease did not sit too plain on my face. "Lovely day, huh?" Well, not exactly the smoothest talked. I assumed it would at least break the tension of this towering figure's presence. After the seconds stretched on, I realized the icebreaker would need to have been twice as strong to crack his demeanor. "Can I help you?" "Water's full of it today," he spoke, in a voice gruff and firm, thick New England accent clinging to the words. "Best you steer clear of the deep." I blinked, confused, not enough to cloud my good spirits. "Right, and what exactly is the water full of?" It should be noted that there's more of an accent than I am able to put into this, and I apologize for that. But full of, water's full of, FULL''A. I asked, trying to do my best to imitate the phrasing without sounding like a parody. Steer yourself clear of the deep," was his response as he walked away, that same rock-like thud of his feet following. Honestly, I felt like I had encountered a deck spirit of some sort, but his presence felt real enough. I did my best to shake that unease away and return to setting up my supplies. Before long, I had everything in its place, and with the boat fully untethered, freed myself from the dock. I glanced back as the engine revved up to see the man standing at the shore. He looked like a riverside statue, even down to the worn features of his face. I couldn't tell if his eyes were following me or if I had somehow met mine, but I pushed to create distance between us. Soon, it was nothing more than a piece of a shoreline I had left, and the expanse of blue mirrored in the sea and the sky lay before me. Each splash of water that hit me sent a joy into my very bones. Freedom, true and wonderful freedom, was out here in the ocean. And as the land receded more and more from view, I felt the calm of earlier return. No words from a curmudgeonly old drunkard could dispel this feeling. I let the memories of his words float away in the waves. I didn't have a measure of time for how long I had the throttle down, but the speed wasn't my goal. It was distance. I wanted to have the most of the day to myself, on the water, fishing and enjoying the open air. When I turned back once more, I noticed the shore was no longer in view. The horizon had erased any trace of land, and the infinite blue expanse stretched before me. I slowed the boat, turning to set myself parallel with the land, and I had left and lowered the anchor. I didn't feel it hit, but it stopped after a short time. I felt so confident I wouldn't drift off. With one final glance towards the sky, I raised my rod and cast into the azure waters before me. Hours turned into minutes, and minutes of struggles with fish would feel like hours passing. A few sea trout, a couple of red drum, and lucky catch of Maya had kept me more than occupied. And as much as I wanted to keep the day to myself, I was unable to avoid the other boat that passed me. It was slow. It was slowed as it approached, the boat's pilot clearly wanting to chat. The boat soon came within 40 feet of me, and the man was about 10 years older, my senior, and waved. His wife and son waved as well, with a teenager wore his boardroom more clearly than tanning lotion covering his wife. "Hey there, didn't think anyone would be this far out today. Fine day for it, isn't it?" he said, gesturing to the rod in his hand. The man's accent nearly dripped out of his mouth, but his brand of friendliness was genuine. I'd encountered it more than enough to be comfortable already. "Anything biting?" "You certainly got that right, and yeah, I got a few good ones," I replied, grin not well hidden. "Ooh, boy. Well, if I didn't have the old ball and chain and lock with me, I'd be right next to you," he guffawed with a wink, his wife giggling and his son pulling his flattened hat over his face. "You planning to go out again tomorrow?" Weather seems to want to hold, so we'll see. Well, if you do, come find me. And don't worry, I'm really easy to find. Just listen for the loudmouth asshole, and you'll find me in no time. Another booming laugh before waving and speeding off. His wife gave him another wave, and his son just looked down with his hat still over his face. I went back to my fishing, and soon time was slipping away once more. After a fish had slipped away, I realized the sun had begun to shift down from its perch above the world. I knew I had several hours until the sunset, so that kept me in good spirits, but I also wanted to prepare some of what I caught. I didn't let the fact that my fishing trip was coming to an end dampen my mood in the slightest. I put the rod away and made sure the coolers were closed. I looked back into the ocean, and the beauty of all of it was breathtaking, even more than I had thought before. Each soft lapping of the waves against my boat clicked a song that enchanted me. I chuckled. I thought of an ancient tales of sirens luring sailors to their deaths when I saw it. The surface of the water had been even, waves notwithstanding. When it caught my eye, it bobbed ever so slightly as it moved, drifting gently towards me. At first, it looked like a coconut or a brown ball, but as soon as it drifted closer, I saw it in more detail. It looked like a large net, with several buoys still propping it over the water surface, but only just. A straight fishing net? It didn't seem unheard of, and it did not seem like anything out of place so far to see. I couldn't help but watch as the net as it made a slow, gentle swim in my direction. If my boat held steady, the net would pass beneath me, not even giving it itself a chance to go near the outboard, so I watched it, curious as to the origins of such a large net. And as soon as it was close enough for to the port side for me to get a better look at the net itself, the clarity of the waves gave me a decent view of the net. And I was considering getting my boat hook to grab it when I froze. Latticed between the sections of the net were pieces of fabric that looked familiar. What truly stopped me, however, was the hat that was stuck to a section about 10 or so feet down. The hat belonged to a teenage son I had seen a few hours before in the fabric. Was that his shirt? Was he wearing a shirt? Panic crept through me. I soon heard a familiar sound of an engine. I looked up to see the boat from before, but it wasn't moving as fast as I had thought. Something seemed to be causing the engine to stall out. With a careful gaze, I saw it. The netting had caught the propeller, and I could hear the throttle being pushed hard. Slowly but painfully slow, the boat approached. My eyes scanned over the top the best I could to look for the man, his wife, and hopefully his son. The joy of the man had held in his face from earlier was gone and replaced with such a strong mixture of pure fear, rage, and sadness I could not comprehend. Before I noticed the blood streaming across his face. Hey, what the heck? What happened? Are you all right? I yelled, voice cracking from the creeping dread. His gaze snapped up, eyes empty, red from tears. It took him. How could I know? It looked just like a net, he stammered, his voice still loud enough for me to hear with ease. It took him. It's gonna get you. He looked at me. I finally saw more than terror in his eyes, because slowly trailing up his back, his arms, and his neck was the rope of the netting. It flicked across his skin like it was tasting him. Whenever it went over the blood, it rubbed itself against it. I expected it to smear, but instead nothing remained. It's on you, I managed to get out before the netting had closed itself around the man's head. With a jolting motion, pulled him out of the seat, and I heard him grunt and try and scream. I hoped the rope had tightened itself around his throat. His eyes caught mine once more, and in them I saw the realization of what was happening the exact second before it did. The snap was louder than I thought, and his body crumpled. The head stayed in place and the netting crawling it. Both were pulled over to the side of the ship, and a heavy splash as the man's body hit the water. The head barely plunked as it went under, and with that, he was gone. Once the blue water was stained with crimson, a large section of the netting stayed near the surface. I didn't move. I couldn't. Every sensation of my body had frozen still, and it was a struggle to even turn my eyes to where they had last seen buoys. I had barely moved, still near the bow, but on the way they were sat still and did nothing to ease my fears. It wasn't until then I remembered what the weird old man had to say. Water's full of it today. Is that what he could have meant? How could he have known that something like this existed, let alone how something like that could... My hair nearly leapt out of my chest when I heard a soft, wet slap come from behind me. I turned my head, feeling a stiffness of my neck recede as I saw several strands of rope begin to probe their way onto the boat. They were not near me. It'd take much more length for them to even approach me. Did I know I was here? It had to have heard me to yell, right? The ropes were abandoned their search, slipping back into the water with no ceremony. I didn't move. I turned my head slowly and watched the buoys for hours. I felt my skin heat up from the sun and a cool from a breeze, and yet I didn't move. Not even to sit, to get comfortable. I couldn't. What if it felt me move? I was not able to take my chances that it felt around till it knew something was there. I never stood so still for so long in my life. I felt the soreness and exhaustion dig deeper into me. The ropes attempted a few more searches, but kept getting away from me. Soon I saw the sky begin to change color. The deep blue began streaking with orange glow, and it was then that I noticed the two buoys moving. When they were moving before, it was a slow drift. Now they moved with quicker purpose. Not as fast as a boat, but calculated acceleration. What felt like another hour had passed, and soon I couldn't make it out of the buoys anymore. From there, where I had stood, I waited even longer before scrambling to the anchor. I grabbed the chain and began to pull it up as fast as I could. Each inch of chain clanging against the boat was another breath of relief I let out. My eyes darted around as I brought it up, checking for any movement. The sun finally came down to the end of the day, and I had barely an hour left of light left. I didn't remember the length of the anchor's chain, but soon felt as though I was nearing the end. I let out one sigh of relief and checked around me once more. Nothing in sight. The dying light of the day was somehow reassuring. As soon as I felt the anchor break the water surface, I looked down. Wrapping itself around the anchor's ropes slithering up the chain was a thick layer of matted netting. Oh, that was a good one. Who did that one? Hold on. I like that one. Amy Ocean. Nice. It makes me want to go fishing. I know that was like totally the opposite of the point. It's got that like abandoned trash in the ocean thing. You know, there's that giant patch of garbage. But it's like sort of like using that to modernize the old like, I don't know, sirens or whatever fucked up creatures live in the ocean. Man, when we move up to Maine, maybe I can go fishing. You know? I was thinking about that. Like, I could film arcades outside. Because, like, a lot of fishing is just, like, chilling, right? I've only been fishing, like, once in my life, and I didn't catch anything. Went deep sea fishing. Reminds me of the oil slick in Creepshow 2. Oh, yeah! That does have a very similar vibe, where it's just like, oh, fuck. You're absolutely not gonna get out of this situation. That was a good one. You'll get to go on a lobster boat. Reduce the risk of wet electronics. Yeah. That's what I was thinking, is shore fishing would be easier. It would be cheaper, too. I know nothing about the laws and regulation of fishing, but I'm pretty sure that, like, when you do fishing, you have to get, like, a hunting license equivalent, right? And I'm not sure how good fishing is off, like, directly off the coast of Maine. A fishing license is dirt cheap. Can't imagine it would be that expensive. And like, it's a yearly renewal. I mean, if I catch at least, well, how much is a, hold on. I'm sorry, this is completely off base. How much is a fishing license in Maine? Okay, so it depends on what you want to do. If you want to go hunting as well, it's more expensive, but I don't really want to go hunting, you know? Did you do much fishing while you were up there, Ocean? So this is according to maine.gov. Season fishing, $25 for resident. I plan on being a resident when I move there. A bit. My father was a world famous fly fisher. What the fuck? Combination fishing and hunting is 43, and that's the most expensive one, same as the archery one. 1 day fishing is 11. I mean, honestly, it's only 14 more bucks to do season fishing. So if you go twice, you're good. You know? Because that ends up being 22 for 2 days. Serviceman combination. I would assume that's like if you're a ex-military or a cop or something. They used to do fly fishing practice out in the parking lot early in the morning where I used to work at GameStop. And I'd work first thing in the morning and you just see a whole bunch of like, you know, my age or older, or like doing like, you know, boomers or whatever, just like casting the rods at fucking nothing in the middle of the parking lot. It's just so fucking weird. Yeah, like I never really like talked to them about it and they never came in. Fly fishing is different. It has a relaxing feel to it. I think they wanted to do it on land so that way if they fucked it up, they could like get their lure. But what kind of free fishing days? My birthday is a free fishing day. February 17th to 18th, June 1st to 2nd. Neat. Oh, and if you're super old or super young, you can get like a forever license. Huh. What kind of fish are like... What kind of fish can you catch without... Sorry, this is so not relevant to the stream, but I'm just like interested in fishing now. Catch without getting on a boat in Maine. Can you fish from the shore in Maine? Surf casting, fishing from beaches, rocks, and piers is popular throughout coastal Maine. Sure. What do you catch? Well, I just realized I could do that. You know? I mean, I'm not really interested in sports fishing or anything. Can you catch fish from the shore? I mean, I don't particularly care. It looks like mackerel, bluefish, and striped bass. The 5 best fish to catch. Sure, I don't care. Whatever. Brook trout, largemouth bass, mackerel, Landlocked salmon, bluefish tuna. Okay. I mean, that sounds good, because, like, I was talking to my brother about, like, post-apocalyptic survival stuff, and, like, I don't know if I could kill regular animals, but fish, I mean, like, kind of don't give a shit. Like, you know? Like, I don't feel as bad killing a fish. Like, they don't have as much of a personality as, like, an animal, like a deer or a pig. I need to go piss. I will be right back. Give me, like, I don't know, 2 minutes, BRB? All right, I am back. I have no idea where my wife went. She's somewhere doing something. I guess, like, yeah, I mean, like, killing deer is important because they don't have natural predators because of us. And, you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of a thing. But also, like, my fear is that I would wound an animal and not kill it. You know what I mean? Like, it's good for them to hunt them. I know that sounds backwards, but it's true. Also, someone said hi earlier, and I really apologize. I was in the middle of reading the story, and I didn't want to stop. That's why I just gave you a wave. It was Skew. Welcome, Skew. Normally, I say hi to everyone, but trying not to break the flow of reading, because horror stories don't really work if you keep interrupting them. But I wanted to talk about how much I wanted to, like, do fishing after I read this. So, I don't know. How much is a fishing rod? Okay, sorry. One last one. Fishing rod. They can be kind of pricey, it looks like, for, like, a decent one. Like, I don't know if this one that's, like, $24 is gonna be worth it. They look like they're somewhere between, like, 60 and 150, depending. You need baits and lures. Could this be a stupid thing that I'm into for, like, a week and then give up? I think it could be. I think one of my goals when we move to Maine is to use money less. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking. Like, that's the same way it is with guitars. Because, like, if you buy a cheap-ass guitar, you're gonna not enjoy it as much because the quality of the product is just worse to hold. It's a hobby that'll get me to go outside and touch grass. And how much is tuna? Tuna HEB. I mean, not like a can of tuna. I mean, like a full fucking fish. Yellowfin tuna steak per pound is that real? $8.99 plus tax? Per pound? No. Oh, no, it is. Shit, man. How big are tuna fish? Obviously a big range. They can be up averages to 6 feet 0.6. They're as big as me. Holy fuck. What? Why are they so big? Like, what's the average weight on this bitch? £4 pounds? Bluefin can weigh up to 1,500 pounds. Okay, averages out. Yeah, I don't think you get 1,000-pound one every time. I don't really want to know the maximum. I just want to know, like, the average. 500 pounds on average? On average. I forgot about the Wonder Boner. 500 pounds on average. You fucking with me? Hold up. All right. So, like, let's take that HEB price. 500 times $9.33 per pound, right? If you catch one fish, that's like $4,000 worth of meat. What? The Wonder Boner is an actual thing. Yeah, you jam the spine down on the thing and it gets rid of the bones. I don't know if it works well or not. I kind of been thinking about this, Ocean, but it made me think, you know? Probably not something I can stream, just because still kind of worried about people, like, harassing me. Or, you know, whatever. But anyway, let's read more horror stories, because that's why we're here. Sorry, breaking the vibes. Bring up chat. When the Ravens Left is the name of this one. You know who you are? Day 1. On the day the Ravens left the Tower of London, it was all over the news. There was mass panic, and there were even rumors that the Ravens who got their wings clipped somehow flew away. There are a lot of cockneys that started panic buying as soon as the apocalypse was finally announced. Most Londoners, however, did not think much about it. I got a new notebook to write down what happens after the Great Raven Escape. Wonder how long it'll take for people to realize that they went mental over some birds and nothing happened. All right, later, Ocean. We did finish the last one. That one ended there, yes. Day 2. There were news reports that dead people started to reawaken and attack people. They call it the Blight. Zombies? Seriously? Some gullible blokes even believe it. It's probably a PR stunt to promote some new zombie film. Maybe it's the fabled 28 Months Later or the Shaun of the Dead 2. That'd be awesome. If so, then it was a very stupid idea to promote a film like that right after a bird-invoked mass panic, isn't it? It's all-you-can-eat buffet for some daft doomsday blokes. Even my brother Fat Pat sent me a mail telling me to come to his place as soon as possible. Day 3, shit. The zombies are real. I heard the screams, glass breaking, car crash when I woke up. I thought the people were simply rioting and looting. When I looked out the window, I saw how they tore Ms. Wilkins apart. In or alive, nothing but bloody screams. This is the bloody end of the world. As soon as I saw it, I started to close the shutters. I live on the second floor and I don't think they saw me yet. I taped a steak knife to my mop to make a spear and moved my cupboard in front of the door to barricade myself. I got my old hiking backpack and filled it out with food and drinks and old tent and other supplies. I would rather have it there so I could take it with me if I need to bug out. I turned on my TV and the news reporter said that the pandemic had, this is a pandemic and that all citizens should stay away from the infected. Well, let's just call them zombies. She then got eaten. Hopefully I don't end up like that too. Day 4. I don't get a signal on my tele or radio. All I hear is chaos outside. Day 5. I had to run. The zombies figured out I was up there. At least 4 of them were banging on my door. I grabbed my spear and my backpack and jumped out the window onto a dumpster and ran. I saw some of them saw that and chased me. I could shake them off and escaped up a fire escape ladder. Now I'm on the roof near Spattlefield Greens. After building my tent, I ate some crisps. I wonder what I should do. Day 6. I saw a bunch of zombies down the street. Whipped up a bottle of Guinness and put a towel in it to make a Molotov. Not only that, but I lit it up and threw it at those gormless wankers, expected to see a nice bonfire. Nothing happened. The Guinness didn't ignite for some reason. It was a waste of a perfect ale for nothing. At least they didn't see me, I think. Started raining. Good thing I got my tent. Or day 7. It started raining. A good thing I got my tent. Can't go anywhere because the zombies are everywhere. I saw some that were dining on a family. Furthermore, I noticed how the screams and the noises started to get fewer and fewer. Day 8. Saw a man and his doggy succumb to their bite wounds. Their owner got an extra life, but the dog stayed dead. Maybe the blight only resurrects humans? Day 9. Remember how Fat Pat invited me to his place to stay? It's not that far. I could reach his house at Quaker Park by foot. Should I, though? On one side, he has a rather safe home. He's a Bobby, and I'm pretty sure he has a gun. His wife, Carrie, was also a bargain huntress and usually buys in bulk. They should have plenty of food. Patrick even has some extra strong doors and windows because he grew paranoid for the safety of his family. However, we're never really that close to each other. We often fight and call each other names. Bloody hell, I even called him Fat Pat in this journal. Why would he help me? But then again, and he did invite me at the start of the blight. Maybe I have a butcher's when they're less infected. Day 10. I'm still waiting for the infected to go away. I looked at them from above and watched them stumble around. They had grayish skin with black veins. Luckily, those twats are not the fastest, but they do not seem to run out of breath. I would be screwed if they could run. Seems they move more and more like someone who does a mild jog with some limping. Day 11. As I'm writing this, it is already day 12. I didn't have time, and I simply could not. I need to calm down. I try to write the last days down as accurately as possible. This is what happened. Okay, so he missed day 11, but he decided to write day 11 on day 12. A survivor with a car drove by him. It was my moment to get down and get to my brother's place. I got my backpack and spear and made my way to Quaker Park. I mainly used back alleys and encountered a few lone infected. I can sneak past most of them, and those who saw me got a spear to the face. Duct tape loosened, though, and my spear broke. When I finally reached Quaker Park, my brother was home. I was relieved. I knocked at the back door first, but no one answered. I had a spare key and opened it myself. As soon as I was in, I could hear the infected moaning and chewing on something. On the floor lay Carrie's body, her head bashed in. 2 meters away, I saw Patrick's back. He was kneeling. As he noticed my presence, he turned around. I saw his black veins. He held Sarah and ate her like she was chicken. My God, she was 2. He dropped her and made a guttural sound as he stumbled towards me. I grabbed a golf club near me and bashed his face in. I hit him over and over until he was unrecognizable. After it was over, I was shaking like crazy. Could not do anything. I walked up his stairs and just laid down. I killed my brother. Day 12. I could not look at them as I woke. I fought a lot with Pat in the past, and now he's dead. Patrick did not deserve this. The worst thing was, there was eye contact before he attacked me. His eyes seemed rotten. They were a mixture of brown, red, and yellow. Those eyes were not human, but in a few seconds I could see them. I could have sworn that they were wet, as if he cried. I saw sadness in his eyes. Did I imagine it, or was there still some of him left in there? Was he aware of what his body was doing? As I was writing this, I had to throw up. Oh God. Day 13, I found Patrick's gun and some ammo. Filled my backpack with anything I could find. Then Sarah started to crawl. Patrick had eaten so much of her that she was just a carcass. Her legs were useless. I used this to my advantage to practice aiming. I used my niece as a fucking shooting practice. At first, there was just a click. I had somehow ejected the magazine, and after flicking some sort of metal switch, I shot Sarah. I put blankets on Patrick's and Carrie's and Sarah's bodies. Day 14, the body started to smell. The blood on the floor started to dry. When I looked out the window, I saw an infected, and he saw me. I broke down the door and I smashed his head in. Now everyone can come in here. I decided to sleep in the shed. Day 15. I can't be in the house. It's not safe in there anymore. Not with them out there. Day 16. In the shed, there was a lot of canned soup, spaghetti, and canned rhubarb. I'll collect as much as I can and run. I didn't even bury Patrick's family. I'm a piece of shite. Day 17. I'm in the house with some squatters now. The streets were silent when I sneaked through the alleys. Suddenly, a pebble hit my head. I looked in the direction of where the pebble came from, and I saw a punk with red hair in the window on the second floor of a rundown house with a metal fence. He gestured for me to come over. In front of the door, the windows were barricaded with scraps, cars, and trash furniture that blocked the way. When I came to the punk's window, he carefully got a ladder out and let me climb. Once I was inside, the punks pulled the ladder up again, and I was met by a group of survivors. There were 2 bobbies, 3 punks, and an elderly couple, a medic, and 4 other survivors. One of them had a baby. They checked if I was bitten and let me stay. Day 18. The group was happy with the gun, the golf club, and the provisions I had. Maybe we can wait it out here. Day 19. One punk with the ACAB tattoo and the cop were on lookout together and chatted a bit. It's nice that people at least put their differences aside and work together during the apocalypse, unlike in the movies. Day 20. Oh God, there's an entire horde outside. They didn't notice us, but the baby started to cry. The mother tried to calm it down, but to no avail. She put her hand over the baby's face so the zombies wouldn't hear us. First, there were only muffled cries, but then there was nothing. Everyone was in shock. The mother was looking at her baby. She was shaking. She tried to wake her baby, but it didn't move. It was dead. Without saying anything, the mother stood up with wide, watery eyes, and with her baby in her arms, she went to the window. We all watched and did not know what to do. She jumped down and only ran a few meters away. She let them eat her. Day 21. We were overrun. One of the zombies figured out we were in here and the entire horde attacked. Didn't take long for them to break in. We fought as best as we could, but there were too many. The police and the punks shot many, but once they were out of ammunition, it was over. The dead poured in, one and ate one another, one after the other. I managed to lock myself into a room without being seen, but I only have this notebook and pen. At least 1 hour has passed since. I will try to make a run for it. If I don't write an entry, that means they got me. Mom, Dad, Patrick, I love you. And that's the end of that one. That one felt short. That's probably on the shorter end of the word count. Who did that one? That one was Count Cannoli. Let's see how many we got left. 1, 2, 3. We got 3 left. Pretty good survival journal writing, yeah. It makes me want to play Project Zomboid again, but I need to play other things today. I tried to write British slang. Yeah, I want to know from British people how close they got to it. I'm not sure if they still call them bobbies anymore. I think that's a fairly old hat. Yeah, clown pubes only says clown pubes. So if you're gonna communicate with clown pubes, try and do binary questions like yes, no. We've kind of worked out that capital for clown pubes means yes, lowercase means no. Capitals is like excitement, lowercase is the opposite. So you can kind of sort of have a conversation with clown pubes if you just know the secret. I speak clown pubes. Clown pubes is letting you know that he's, yeah, I speak pubies. So clown pubes is trying to say that they like both clown and pubes. So don't try and make it one thing or the other. So this one starts with the sentence, another stupid Vinesauce story. Man with a beard and glasses walked through the streets of a city he once knew, searching for someone he thought was dead. A city he had called home for many years. You could barely call it a city at this point. It's like a glitchy mess. Well, the whole world was a glitchy mess. But this was the worst of it. Things didn't look right. Many objects like trees and cars were stretched in odd ways. Other things flashed bright colors. The people that were still in there, even if you could even think of them as human at this point, were contorted into strange shapes. Skin jutted out of bodies and collapsed in on themselves. The man knew to stay far away from them. If they came too close, the man ran. These were innocent people after all. He didn't want to hurt them, only in extreme conditions. The man heard gunshots. Looking behind him, he saw an owl man shooting some of the corrupted people, reverting them back to normal, except that they were dead. What was he doing here? The owl man knew that the man was capable enough of surviving on his own. Fred, what the fuck are you doing here? I told you I was going alone. I need to save him myself. Besides, those people weren't doing anything to you. You shot them just because you could. You're always such a twinkish moron, the man yelled. Mike, you forgot your gun. As always, you cum-brained idiot. You took that stupid shroom with you instead. We've used it too much, Fred replied. I don't want to kill him. I thought he was dead until last week, Mike replied. He's likely a monster now. Besides, you'll need help getting to Staten Island. All the ferries are long gone. It was quite a sight seeing a grown man flying with another man like Sonic and Tails over corrupted waters to what was once an island with a large garbage dump. Now the entire island was considered to be a large mass of corrupted garbage. When they landed, a large feeling of dread overtook them. Mike took out a tracking device. He was close. The two men walked around. The island was definitely the most corrupted part of the city. It was like the fabric of reality was being torn apart. There were so many strange creatures that at one point may have been human. but could no longer seem like some. Even some inanimate objects were alive. Things even merged with each other. It was like the whole island was alive. It was very mad, and they were there. After a long time searching, they arrived at their destination. With some warehouses, the corruption was very different here, being a sticky, glitchy substance instead of the glitchy energy. And it appeared that all the corruption originated from here. Reality felt even more tenuous here, as there were holes everywhere. They went to the warehouse to see what it looked like on the inside, and to their surprise, it was bigger somehow. There were twisting corridors with many more rooms than a warehouse should have. Tracking device beeped really loudly. It was definitely here. Suddenly, monsters made of corruption leaped out at them. They started running into corridors. Felt like an eternity running. Many monsters joined in chasing them. After many close calls, they arrived in the room. The monster stopped chasing them, and they walked to somewhere in the room. Two men followed and found him. Vinny, the source of all of this. He didn't look too great. Having become pure corruption over the years, he stuck to the device, sucking the contraption out of him, or corruption out of him, or perhaps moving it into him. Whatever the case, the monsters absorbed themselves into him. Not again, he said, in a pained way that implied that this had happened before. He noticed his friends. It's too late. Put me out of my misery. Vinny, the source of all this. He didn't look too great. Having become pure corruption over the years, he was stuck to a device sucking all the corruption out of him, or perhaps moving it into him. Whatever the case, the monsters absorbing themselves into him. Not again, he said, pained in a way that had happened before. Then he noticed his friend. Okay, I read that bit. I'm sorry. I had a dyslexic moment. No, it's not. We worked so hard to find a way to save you. Mike took out the mushroom and held it towards Vinny. Fred also tried to remove him from the device. The mushroom's eyes turned on, and it connected itself to the mechanical vines to the corrupted man. It didn't work. The mushroom fell to the ground, becoming useless, and Fred was still trying to remove the device. This thing doesn't want to remove itself from you. I guess I'd have to pull really hard. You can't. I've tried. I've become a part of this place. Endlessly generating corruption to infect other places. Just kill me at this point, Vinny said. It looked like they took a tremendous amount of energy to say that. I don't want to. Fred looked tired of this conversation. He took out his gun and shot Vinny. The corruption drained from him as he fell to the ground, reverting back to a white man with a beard and a hat. Thank you, Vinny said, and he closed his eyes and slept forever. Now we just have to find out who built this and who set this whole place up on Garbage Island, Fred said. Mike punched him. A ghostly monster with a skull watched them from afar. Yes, it said. The plan is all coming together. A brief thank you to RevScarecrow for hosting this event. He helped me inspire me to start writing. It's an ongoing story and I intend on working on until it's finished. Good. And then this, I believe, was from Anon. Yes. It was good. I like that Vinny reverted to being just a white man with a beard and a hat. It's good. And at the beginning, I'm like, I have no idea who the main character is. Like, is this me, Mike, or Vinny? It was a good first story, yeah. I'm gonna double check and make sure where my wife is, because like she was MIA last time I went out into the main room, and I just want to make sure that she's still cool. Give me half a sec. learn that. Love you. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. I just want to make sure that wife was okay. There's cat box had like mold growing under it, which is disgusting. So she had to do a deep clean of the bathroom and such. Probably due to the mold that we had prior. Yeah, we had that huge flood, and so we just got like random mold in places. It's part of the reason we're leaving, because they don't give a damn about us here. Where are we? There we are. Okay, cool. Sorry, just when wife goes MIA, it's probably important. The captain has our best interests in mind. The captain has full control of the ship, and we serve him to that end. We trust the captain for the good of all of us. That's the first page of the contract for the company. Of course, there's always something to sign. I've worked a handful of cycles on 2 other courier crews in the past, but both had longer and much more explicit forms for joining up. After the events of last night, it makes me wonder why I didn't think twice when I read that. I wasn't even desperate for a job. I had enough money from the last contract to relax for maybe a quarter cycle. I was safe. I guess I was bored. I was just happy to have found an opening without having to even look for one. Who could have blamed me for being bored, though? Stranded in the Cooper belt as I was, untethered, unconnected, and very literally entombed in the heart of the asteroid mined out hundreds of years ago, repurposed for cheap housing. The impersonal, utilitarian walls of the chthonic structure never let me feel at home. I suppose adding to that was that I couldn't bring myself to eat another one of those damned recycled MREs. I don't care how much money it saves. I'm not eating that scrap of recycled biomatter for as long as I live. It's not even the taste that gets to me, but the texture. My ruminations follow me all the way through the void at the Fisherman's Wharf. My sole connection to the rest of the galaxy and the space station orbiting Neptune. For the monthly grocery store run. The interplanetary transit was cramped and miserable as ever. The filtered air stale and mingling with the scents of hundreds of aimless sapients. All likely embarking for reasons similar to mine. We're all alone together in that huge gunmetal gray sardine can. Neighbors and acquaintances I'd lived only hundreds of meters from for over a cycle. I knew nearly nothing about them. I tried to remember what it was like to talk to other people regularly. It hadn't been that long since my contract ended with my last company, and yet a lot of this part of this sector robs time of meaning. Nothing ever changes around here. All I ever see are these empty halls of this dormitory and the broadcasts of the galaxy full of people getting on with their lives in tiny rooms. Even when I do see the stars, it's through a scratched viewport on these infrequent supply runs. They're so cold and far away. My ancestors' lives began and ended around Sol. I can hardly pick that light out against the dappled void from here. An errant or lost starship sometimes stops by the wharf to restock on hydrogen and water before it leaves as quickly as it can. Civilization in progress and moved onward and outward. The new frontier is stretching even further away. It's something that I also understood. I wanted to be chasing that horizon and tasting new flavors. I have a need inside me to be experiencing and exploring. But I was not at the horizon of discovery. I was on a glorified bus, cramped full of sad people. I leaned against the viewport and closed my eyes. It came suddenly when I felt a jolt of the docking clamps of transport engine, Start that sentence over. They're short and sweet. I would prefer it short and sweet. Let's see, where were we? I came to suddenly when I felt the jolt of the docking clamps of the transport engage. I sat up and stretched, rubbing my neck as I heard the alert to disembark signal to the passengers to get moving. I joined the faceless crowds and checked my supplies list again as we slowly filed out of the airlock. The hydraulics disengaged and the airlock door opened languorously. Just above the din of the mechanical drone, I began to hear the confused bustle of wharf's denizens. Asteroid miners and Neptune gas harvesters moving the results of their efforts from here to there, stray merchants companies shopping for supplies on a pit stop en route for more profitable parts of the sector, many unnamed others drifting about or looking for some place to forget their troubles for a while. In this nowhere end of the galaxy, a hot meal and a drink goes a long way. I wilted slightly as I recalled the breakfast I ate many hours ago. Hungry and yet nauseous as well. I like it or not, I had to spend a little extra today and get something to eat before my errands. Weaving my way into the throng, I followed my nose to the nearest food court. Triton's Bounty. I'd been there before. I think the name's bugging me only a little. It wasn't as if the wharf didn't get their edible stock from Triton. It was the name bugged me a little. It wasn't as if most of the wharf didn't get their edible stock from Triton. It was the only reasonable source of food short of building more hydroponics, which was not going to happen. What mattered is they didn't serve very much recycled biomass to my recollection. I felt ready to murder my plate of fish and chips. The cheap upholstery of the booth creaked as I slid into my seat. I decided to spoil myself with a cup of coffee when the waiter asked if I'd like to drink anything. I lost a few moments staring into the curling plumes of steam from my cup. My reverie was abruptly broken when someone sat across from me. She had dirty blonde hair and pulled back into a long tail. Blue eyes lively in her face, freckles like uncharted constellations. Her smile was a little crooked, so was her nose. She propped her elbows on the table and leaned forward a little bit, resting her chin on her arched hands. Hey, I hate eating alone. And you look like shit. Mind if I join you? Hell of a pickup line. I was too stunned to answer at first. A breach of social etiquette and her blunt appraisal of me was too much for me to take in all at once. I've forgotten how conversation was supposed to work. Hun, close your mouth. The food isn't here yet. Listen, lunch is on me. I wasn't kidding about eating alone. But I think I'll lose my mind if I have to do it with my crewmates on the first stop since the Polymantine system. So today, you're my new best friend. She offered me her hand. I suppose I'd met a stranger than her. It was a free meal, and there was no graceful way back out to the offer. What could the harm be? I reached across the table and took the handshake, warm and firm. I finally noticed that she was well muscled. She probably could throw me around like a rag doll if she wanted. I wondered if I was in danger. The stranger gave my arm an enthusiastic pump and released my hand. To my relief, I remember my words finally. So, what brings you to the dead end of this sector? Oh, just passing through. The company had a job to pick up a parcel out of the ass end of nowhere for some big ticket name back home. We're on our way back and trading up any supplies we can on the way. Whatever's easy. Simple gig, long trip, boring as hell. She was free. I felt envy in a flash. I watched her scan the menu, one arm carelessly draped over the booth. Why couldn't I be free? Why couldn't I stay free? My attention returned to the moment when she asked, "What brought you to this backwater of the galaxy?" Have you seen a prophecy in that coffee yet? I looked up and met her. My eyes met hers. I'm sorry, I'm having a really bad dyslexic day. I looked up, my eyes met hers, a wild gleam in them, and that mildly irritating smile on her lips. I'm just between jobs, I do freelance stuff for starships. Cooking, cleaning is kind of my thing. I sipped my coffee and grimaced. Burned. Another disappointment. Hon, you can cook? Stranger leaned forward and rested her elbows on the table. Listen, crew has been having to deal with ready-made crap and my cooking for the last half cycle. If you're interested, you just might have a place on board with us. Not in charge of the roaster, but the kitchen situation is pretty dire. Job? So soon? The last contract ended maybe a month and a half ago. I was supposed to be taking this time to relax. I had enough money to survive. I didn't need to struggle. I didn't need to hang around the wharf, keeping my ears to the ground, chance to earn my keep. I didn't have to subject myself to any more prolonged stresses of experienced weft travel, W-E-F-T. Not for a while, at least. Hopefully long enough for my dreams to fade. Did I feel relaxed? The pause in the conversation stretched uncomfortably long. My impromptu companion looked at me expectantly, her eyebrow cocked roguishly, her fingers drumming on the cheap plastic table. Think about it, eh? Give it till the end of the lunch at least. Speaking of which, what can I get you? Oh, I see you picked up a friend. Nice. The waiter was only momentarily surprised. She's my bestie. I'll have the fish and chips if you please. Companion broke out a wicked grin and leaned back again. I'll just have the same, thanks. Some ice water, please. Felt like I'd woken up in somebody else's life. I remembered my own life again, and no, was not relaxed. I was stuck. Days full of empty and nothing to look forward to. Nights filled with uncomfortable dreams from what I would see in the weft. As if there was even such a thing as days or nights for me. Hardly mattered. Nowhere I had ever had to be, nowhere I could aspire to go. Just off out to work, freelance extra who could barely tolerate working on a ship. I realized I would turn this offer down. Who takes a job offer from a random lunatic anyway? She said that she was not in charge of the roaster. I would eat my food, do my shopping, go back home to my windowless tomb. Free meal would be the highlight of my week. Hun? Hey, hun? You're crying. Why are you crying? Are you alright? Talk to me. I came back to myself and realized she was right. Tears falling into my mug of burnt coffee. I set it down again and met my acquaintance's gaze. Began to realize that it was difficult to speak. There's no place for me. Can't stand it. Being stuck, I have no purpose. There's nothing here for me. I don't have skills or money or connections. I loathe the thought of being stuck on a planet. I hate living on a rock on the edge of the nowhere. I always knew this, man. And when I managed to get a job on a crew for the first time, I could hardly cut it. The stress got to me. I don't know. I have no idea what to do. The stranger looked at me with something that looked like recognition mixed with something haunted. Oh, hon, listen. She took my hand again, and this time her grip was gentle. Why don't I just show you his ship? As a friend. Real friend, I mean. You can finish lunch, and I'll tell you a little bit about myself, and I'll show you off my ride to you for fun. You just make a day of it. No obligations, no job or job offers. I don't have anything planned or other than getting away from the crew anyway. And if it so happens to be looking for work by the end of our activities, then that's handy, and if not, no biggie. All right. She gave my hand to squeeze and me a little smile. I froze for a moment, but then managed to nod. She held my hand for a moment longer and let go. I still remember the sensation of her fingers against mine. Sipped my coffee to give myself another moment to compose myself and regretted it, and pushed it away from me. Cleared my throat. I haven't even asked your name. What can I call you? She smiled and had a crooked smile again. Sienna, like the color. Which you can call me at any time. And what do I call the girl with the buzz cut in front of me? I reflectively ran a hand over the short bristles on my head, suddenly self-conscious. Aubrey, I'm Aubrey. You know, I'm glad that I met you today, or maybe that you met me. The raider returned with our food, and I found out that I worked out quite the appetite. It was the best fish and chips I'd ever had. It was a far cry from... It wasn't the best fish and chips that I'd ever had, but it was far cry better than anything I'd had in weeks. We walked into the hangar, and Sienna pointed out her ship. It was larger than I expected somehow, though that was likely to accommodate the crew quarters and the cargo hold. The shape made me think of some avian sapiens that I had seen infrequently crouching with her wings spread, maybe resembling a raven. A half-remembered story I read decades ago briefly surfaced, or many silphid designs that were visible. A part of a larger one that I could tell was meant to be viewed from above. There she is, the Somnium Valere. We just call her SV for short. Couldn't tell you what the name means. Some pretentious Latin garbage, I think. But she's a ripe old tin can, but she'll never steered us wrong or broken down so bad that we had to get her patched up without a fuss. Her AI's a little stiff, but she's decent once you get to know her. Oh, you got an AI? I hadn't flown with a company that could afford a ship with such extravagance before. My past crews made do with the most up-to-date star charts and sometimes a little blind luck and gutsy navigators to get by. Sienna strode beside me, and I had to keep a quick pace to keep up with her long legs. Yep, she came with the ship. Might even be older than the ship. Couldn't say. She's not one of those Sarah presets that the corporates are always trying to get people to sign up for. Ship automation and rational adjustment. My ass cheek. I can't stand this cheery voice. And they never have advice I couldn't just get from a hungover mechanic. Heck, at least you can bitch to the mechanic about a breakup. Sarah just blinks and smiles at you like the damn fool she is. She patted her various pockets once we reached the vessel. She pulled out a phone and tapped out a quick message, presumably to someone inside. Cargo bay whirred and the door opened as the ramp engaged. She gestured that I follow her inside. It was dark and cold inside. Only about a third of the lights were on, and it felt like the AC was on full blast. I shivered at the sudden change in atmosphere. I blinked as my eyes adjusted to the sudden change. Sienna cursed. Shit, they still haven't fixed it? I'd hope they would come home to I would not come home to a goddamn refrigerator tonight. Sorry, climate's been on the fritz ever since Polly bumped to the ship on the way into the hangar. I might have something extra for you to throw on so you don't freeze, but let's swing by my room. Dude, Sienna is smooth as fuck. Sorry, I'm not supposed to interrupt the story, but damn. She selected a corridor. I followed close, her boots making a clink with every footfall. I tried to warm myself up by rubbing my shoulders. As I went, I regretted my shirt, sleeveless top, and taking in my surroundings more. The hallways were utilitarian, lacking the pretense of modern design or panache. This was an old ship. No plates hid the guts of her inner workings. There were wires and pipes laid bare for all to see. And combined in the half-life made the environment cast eerie shadows. I blinked and came back to myself. Realized that Sienna had rounded a corner and sped up. I hadn't dawdled too long. I saw her just up ahead. Looked down, and talking to a figure that appeared to be lying on their side and working on some exposed electronics of the ship. I quickened my pace to close the gap and caught a snatch of the conversation. Didn't expect you to be back so soon. Managed to chase the fault down to this hallway. Now I have to meticulously check each one of these panels to see which fucking screw came loose because Birdbrain didn't clean his glasses. I'll tell you, I'm over the moon to get to work on a ship that's older than my grandparents, but I'd kill for a nice manufacturer's handbook, so I knew my ass from my elbow every time I just needed to mend a bit of bent metal. Is this your new friend? The person on the ground was a stocky frame and was equipped with a belt of tools. They ranged from intimidating wrenches that looked like they needed two hands to to lift to small, delicate, handheld things that I didn't even recognize. We're wearing a fuzzy green beanie, a poofy gray sweater, probably to ward off the chill of the AC blasting. They still had their hands busy and exposed circuitry. With the exposed circuitry, they briefly glanced at me and resumed working and struck their tongue between their teeth. She's cute. Why is she here? My cheeks suddenly felt warm. Despite the cold, I found myself abashedly, I don't know this word, A-S-K-A-N-C-A-E. Askanites? Though I couldn't help but notice that Sienna's eyes had bugged out a little, and she had lost some of her swagger. Sienna glared down. Alex, don't do that. We met at lunch and she just mentioned that she's... yeah. Hootie's got it spelled out. Rhymes with stance. Accents? Like sideways or nervous. Okay. Sorry, I'm the only person that doesn't know this. Also, hey Hoots. Let's see. Alex, don't do that. We just met at lunch. She mentioned that has some cooking experience and figured I'd harass the captain until we can get her into the kitchen. I figured threatening to continue cooking myself might do the trick. Alex stopped their work to mention at the mention of cooking, turned their head and looked straight at Sienna. You guys have my full support. Let me know if there's anything I could do to help. They turned back to their tinkering for a moment, stopped, and looked like they were trying to remember something then. It seemed to reach a conclusion, and she nodded at me to say, I'm Alex Bell, engineer. What's your name? Amused by the abrupt formality, I answered, Aubrey Kaya, C-A-H-Y-A. Pleased to make your acquaintance. Giving a small brow for the fun of it, Alex blinked at me and said, she'll do, I think. She returned as they returned to their work, as though we'd vanished in the puff of smoke. The crew dormitory wasn't far from where Alex was working. After Sienna punched her code for the door, I was relieved that her light was working despite the ship's state of manufacture or malfunction. Her room was small and in some disorder, but there was still a comfortable space. A number of stray garments strewn about the room. A jacket draped over the back of a chair at the small desk with a metal chest set on it. A pair of pants folded at the foot of the twin bed with a thick red blanket. A mysterious single boot by the door. There was even a small viewport just above the bed to let in the starlight. If there was anything to be had, I'd mused for a moment that what it would be like to go sleepwatching the stars again. My reflection caught my attention as I looked around in the rooms. There was a narrow mirror by the door. Buzz-cut auburn hair, dark circles under my pale skin. At least I still had some muscle definition, maintaining that it was always important and difficult living off-world, so I meant not to be slacking off with my routine completely. Didn't see what was cute, though. Sienna rummaged through her closet for something, casting aside unwanted clothes in a small pile beside her. This should be... Here, this should be warm enough, even though it's not exactly your size. It definitely wasn't. The sweater she found was a soft pink thing that I'd never expect her to wear. I threw it over my head anyway and wriggled into the sleeves. Thankful to have something to keep the chill at bay. Do you offer fuzzy pink sweaters to everyone you meet, or am I special? I looked at her like a kid in her parents' clothes. I couldn't stand to watch you shiver for another moment. Well, let me show you to the kitchen. Maybe I can get you to be our culinary caretaker if you get to see what you're working with. How's that sound? She didn't wait for me to answer. Rushed past me and opened the door. Was she blushing? I followed her out the door and to her room. Out of the door to her room. I followed her out, and the door of her room hissed, closing behind me. After a short walk, there was a double door to the mess hall that slid open for us to approach. It was more than a little liminal from the dim lighting and the lack of people in it. But it was also clear even now that people made efforts to bring comfort to this space. I noticed that in the center of each of the three circular tables, there was a neat caddy of spices for the crew to use in their meals. There was a large potted plant in the center of the rooms that I'd never seen in my life. It had a thick stem, large fleshy leaves with orange veins, and 7 points on each leaf that curled upwards. I followed Sienna as she pushed through the doors to the kitchen and was almost swept away by a wave of conflicting emotions. But I found myself saying, this must have been a beautiful kitchen once upon a time. She looked abashed for, made for amusing slight. Given how tall she was, she looked, there's that word again. She looked sideways at the pile of cookware in the sink and filled it with the pot handle sticking out awkwardly. It didn't pose a couple of times. I'm not great at cooking. I guess I gotta admit I'm not great at cleaning either. Could be worse though, I guess. Gotta cook for the whole crew and they won't even set foot in here, so it's been a bit nightmarish. Thing is though, at the end of the day, I'm just good for throwing cargo around and making sure all the loose bits of the ship get bent back in place. I'll do my damnedest though. No one's gonna go hungry, and no one's gone hungry yet. She gave a little smirk. I did a cursory investigation of the space and did my best to ignore the catastrophic mess in the sink. A large refrigerator was well stocked with simple fare, and Sienna added that there was yet more cold storage for food in the cargo bay. There was a variety of spices in the cupboard, well stocked with salt, which I approve of. There was also both a spacious oven and a range to work with. If I worked here, I knew I wouldn't feel limited by my tools. And these people needed someone who knew how to use them. Better than Sienna. Well, what do you think, Ob? Will you save us from cooking? Sometimes I wish I had said no. Series of journal entries from somewhere. Someone. I saw something in the last jaunt. Not out there, in here, in the ship, in my head. It's in my head. It's not likely to be firmware update to my augmetics. Been checking that. Not another damn soul in this arm of the galaxy has had a single complaint even close to what I experienced. Just regular shit. Occasional visual or auditory excuse me. Had a burp coming on and I stumbled over my words. That was the grossest combination of things. Let me try that again. It's just the regular shit. Occasional visual or audio artifacting. It's just you can't scratch. Nothing new. Nothing fucked up. I'm not relieved that I can't see it anymore now that I've come out of the weft. That means I'm either making it up or I'm actually going to pieces despite all my training, or it's hiding in my skull with me. I don't even know what it is. It's just a presence. It's looking around. I can't go to sickbay with this. I don't know how to describe the problem without sounding like a belt miner on the good shit. Did I pick up a parasite? How could that even happen? Asking. So, it's a separate section. Did I pick up a parasite? How could that even happen? I can ask the engineering about biofiltration. Update. Impossible. Not any way we could have picked up foodborne, airborne, or any kind of borne in parasites. Biofiltration is completely clean. Our last stop was a month ago and got us new filters and everything. The diagnostics, when they were installed, were spotless. So was the one we just ran. I say I'm cracking under stress, but I wasn't stressed until this started. Presence has grown. I can hear it chattering in my thoughts now. I'm losing sleep. I saw it again. We jaunted, and I saw it again. Why don't I have words for it on this side? It's fucking clear as day in there. I don't have a first idea of what to call it on this side. I saw it in other people. I saw it on the computer. I saw it in the goddamn kitchen of all places. I still don't have the first idea of anything that's going on. But I don't think I care to know at this point. I need off this ship and I'm willing to do anything. Can't leave. Binding contract. I'd never get work again. End of the contract is years off and there's no fucking way I'm putting up with whatever this is for that long. Keeps trying to talk to me. I will not listen. Drastic measures. I have some contacts. And we just picked up something valuable. I'm not exactly losing sleep anymore. I'm not sure I ever was. I'm losing time. Just hours here and there. Gone. The intervals are growing longer and longer and more frequent. Of course, At first, I didn't notice. It seems like the doctor... It seems like no one has noticed at all, save for me. More reason to leave. Get to some civilization, go to the doctor as soon as possible. And that's the end of it. Huh. So, okay. We've got the, So first off, who was that? That one was by... They go by 3-4 different names. Rachel, or Beloved, or Cheshire, or 5. Just like 5. I really like the character building. I'm a little confused about how the second part connects into it. Like, it's in the same... It's in the same universe. It's on the same ship. I'm a little confused by this one. Yeah, the change in writing style in the last, like, bit, where it was like a journal entry, kind of confused me a little. I also noticed that Alex never was gendered. There's something on the ship. Yeah. Alex is non-binary. And I believe that is... Yeah, I mean, that's... Okay, that's Rachel, so that's you. I kind of figured, because, like, Alex is a non-binary name, and I kept waiting for a gender to be, like, used, but then it wasn't. Whatever they were carting around from the ass into nowhere was the issue. Like, I mean, that was clearly set up. Protector is right. So it started as a journal entry being prose, but once they got sick, they dropped all grace in writing because they were scared. Okay. I mean, that explains the shift in tone, for sure. And this is the same person. This is Audrey, right? Or Audrey? This is not Aubrey's. Okay. This is someone else's, because it does say that, right? I was trying to find that. A series of journal entries from someone. It's an interesting one. And this, I believe, is going to be our last story for today. We will do another writing contest at some point. I'll do another poll here in a second on whether or not you guys do want to do a video game one or a comic one. I feel like 2 months is... I mean, based on how banger these have been, I feel like a month, like 31 days, is like enough time to make a decent story in writing. For comic books, I'm not sure how long it should be. I mean, I used to have like a 10-minute turnaround when I was working at the newspaper, but those were shit drawings and I hate them. So probably longer than that, you know? Yeah, I was thinking either comics or games for the next one. I'm just not sure which, and if we do a game jam, I'm not sure what the theme is yet. With the comics, my finals were 5 pages as standard. Okay. And are we talking like A5 paper or what? Yeah, this felt like this was not the end of the story, Rachel. That, like, there was... Because we just started getting to everything's fucked. You know? I think 2 to 10 pages is, like, a good range. Because 10 is a lot for a comic book. And 2 is very little. It feels like it's pretty okay. All right, well, let's read this last one. This one's called The Watcher. Oh, and someone asked on my Tumblr Anons whether or not they'd be okay with resubmitting, or if I'd be okay with resubmitting a story. The reason I said I don't really know, like, if that would be good. I think that might be confusing for people if they hear the same story twice. And I think that, like, showing it with its flaws is fine. I think that the contest or the exhibition is really for new stuff. You know what I mean? Feel like a minimum page count for comics could be to its detriment. Yeah, I don't know yet. I feel like the comics thing might be a better choice for me right now. Because I can't moderate a Discord server as well as it ought to be for, you know, connecting up for a game jam between March and April. But the comics you can just do by yourself, or if you want to contact someone, you could, you know? Yeah, I think having a maximum for the comic book, I think, okay, so for a comic, I think it should be at least 2 panels. Poach mods from Mike & Co. I probably should, but, I mean, I kind of just go with the mods that, like, show up, you know? I like the 10 pages max. I think that's, like, a lot. Whenever you're out on the road, you're passing by thousands of years of lived experience. This is called The Watcher. I should probably start with that. The Watcher. Whenever you're out on the road, you're passing by thousands of years of lived experience, all the same as your own. Something I often used to think about. Anyway, I recently won the lottery, claimed anonymously, of course, and I took the lump. Stayed at my job for a couple more months to make sure the jackpot was out of mind, then turned in a 2-week notice. I didn't get a new house, didn't get a new car, just let everything stay the way it was, aside from not working. That said, I found out that I had a reoccurring habit of taking a folding lawn chair out to the highway, putting it out off to the side of the road, and just watching everyone go by. Watching all that lived experience come and go. Time spent that I could never fully understand. I often wondered if it'd be the last time I'd see some of that experience, or if I'd even notice. There's this one car that I felt like I saw every day, but then I stopped seeing it. It wasn't hard to pick out of a crowd since it had a red body but a green door. And every time I picked up that lawn chair to go home, I'd think about that car. Mainly wondered if the driver sold it, painted, or replaced the door, or maybe just something went on and killed them and the car got scrapped or sold. To some degree, I had an impulse to want that car for myself, but I never did anything that might have steered me into being able to try and buy it. Likely, if I had, I would have overpaid just to make sure that the previous owner wouldn't have been able to get a new car right away without needing to make payments on it. I'm not sure if that would have been nice of them, or just to make it more likely that they would accept the deal. Even now, I can't even imagine what kind of person that driver might have been, or might still be. Same went for all the drivers of those vehicles to some degree. There might have as well been not even been drivers at all. Part of me went out hoping there I'd see a crash. I'd get to watch the fallout of all that. So at the start, I tried to get those thoughts out of my head, but it didn't take for very long for me to accept them for what they were. After a while, I even had the thought of trying to cause one myself, just to hurry the process along. It's hard for me to say if the reason I hadn't done it before is because of a moral compass, or just because I didn't think I'd be able to buy my way out of that one. I started bringing rocks and other little things with me, things I could throw if I felt the feeling overtook me, but which wouldn't actually cause any real trouble. Even those, I'd never end up throwing any of them. Usually I got distracted by wondering if any of the drivers recognized me by now, or if some other thing since I didn't really find myself stressed anymore. I had also thought about using some of the money to do what others would call a good thing. I hadn't gotten around to doing it. For charities, I had always gotten frozen by choice paralysis, and for anything more direct, I had always gotten overwhelmed by the process of getting anything started. I'll admit, as I'm sure you already know, that this is only a formality. That it wasn't altruism driving me into doing it. I just felt that I had no need for all the money myself, and since nothing drove me to want anything that I didn't already have outside of a few odds and ends that nobody ever noticed. And I didn't want to leave it sit. I don't think I would have actually mattered if what I did with it was good or bad, so long as it did something to bring down the excess to the point where I just had enough for myself without actually being too much. It would have been fine. Anyway, as for what happened, well, that was actually quite simple. I'd gone out to watch the cars again, and all of a sudden I saw that red car with the green door again. So I believed, anyway, the front of it seemed to be the same, but I couldn't actually really see the door at the time. That's of course because it was heading straight for me instead of being on the road. Can't imagine why the driver would have done that, or if they were the same driver that was there while I was on the road at all. Before I came up here, I'm sure you saw me standing over there for a while, trying to puzzle out what might have motivated them to do that. Maybe they had gotten drunk and gone horribly off course. Or maybe they had known that I had won the lottery and wanted to lash out against me for my inaction. Though right now, I don't think that was very likely. It could also be possible that they were some sort of unstable sort. And seeing me on the road every time caused something in me to go off within them. As for myself, I suppose I'd have to admit that I didn't have a great time to get away from them. Maybe if I had, then I would have avoided that mess. Or maybe it would have happened anyway. Can't tell the reason I had stayed in that chair is because it was just too slow to react. Or perhaps I believed the moment too long that there would be an opportunity to be a part of that accident I had been waiting for instead of just witnessing it. If that was it, then I suppose my sense of self-preservation took a little too long to kick in. That's my story. I don't know how far I made towards the hospital, but it seems like I don't know how far I made it towards the hospital, but it seems like it wasn't quickly enough, so now I'm here. Please forgive me for not being sure of who you are. I'd managed to grow up rather isolated from this sort of thing, so everything is sort of jumbled again. I think it might have been either Peter or Sharon. I feel like those names don't... Charon? Oh, I see what you did there. I feel like those names don't have enough in common with each other that I should be associating them like this. In any case, I apologize for starting to talk to you before you got a chance to introduce yourself. And whatever your verdict is, I suppose I have no choice but to accept them with open arms. That's kind of neat. That's kind of neat. St. Peter waiting at the gates, or Charon, the guy that does the boat. So he's just watching souls come and go. That was neat. I liked it. I don't get the lottery bit connected with that. That's interesting. That's a different one. Who did this last one? It was Peter, sir. Well, I guess there you go. Their name is Peter. That was an interesting one because it kind of threw a curveball at me at the end. I wasn't ready for that. Isn't St. Peter canonically supposed to have a fucked up hydrocephalic head? I don't know about that, I'll be honest. I'm trying to remember which one that they incorrectly translated Halo to horns. I want to say it was St. Peter. The saint with horns. Moses. Moses, really? It depicts the biblical figure Moses with horns on his head based on the description from chapter 34 of Exodus. And that was just like a mistranslation thing. So he's just, if you find a random statue of like a bearded dude with horns, it might just be Moses instead of Satan. Was St. Peter the one that got decapitated? Which one was the saint that got decapitated? Peter looks pretty normal. I'm not sure I was confusing him for. Peter was like one of the main apostles, so probably not. Probably not him. I'm gonna take a quick piss break, and then we might do the bounty. We might not. I don't know. What's the thing? Okay. It's a little iffy right now if that's going to work or not. Give me half a second, and then we might come back with either that or something else. I'm going to take a piss break, and I'll be right back. BRB. 2 minutes. Give me some water, too. That's here. I found it. Love you. All right, I am back. Yeah, we haven't done a poll for the next creative thing. I don't know how to, like... Also, can I just say, What do you call someone who repeatedly puts themselves in a situation to do something that they are like medically very bad at? Like just Rev or what? Because like, why do I keep doing like things like read all of Homestuck and read creative stories by people while being dyslexic? Like, it's not a smart decision. I'll be real with you, my dude. Masochist, Ambition, Atlas. Okay. These are all much nicer. Like, I like reading. I just don't like doing it. I think we just call that stubborn. Yeah. My wife says it's the Mullen family stubbornness. Because that's something that like both my dad and my brother have as well. Where it's just like, no, your stories were fine. I was just like, yeah. I'll be honest with you. I think like paragraph breaks are way important to me. I listen to a shit ton of audiobooks. The one I'm listening to right now is like almost good enough for me to be like, yeah, that's all right. Let me go ahead and switch things over to the bounty. We can do that now. Does that sound good? I need to flip the switch on flick the switch on YouTube real quick. Let me know when you hear this. People on After Hours. And we can come back and I can talk about the book that I've been listening to recently. If you're watching not live, the next one will be PUBG. I'll be right back, y'all. Bounty. Sponsored. Oh. Gotta make sure I flip the switch first.